Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith and I'm excited today to be unboxing a game called Tang Garden. The front of this box is absolutely beautiful. The back of it really shows that this game has some serious table presence, and I'm going to show you that in a second. This game does play solo right out of the box. So without further ado, let's flip it over, take a look, find out more about Tang Garden, and then we're going to dive in, check out all the components firsthand. Here is a look at the back of the box. It states, players take the role of engineers who have been summoned to build a garden while balancing elements of water, rock, and greenery. They need to decorate the garden with pavilions, bridges, different types of vegetation, and animals, such as birds and goldfish. During the construction, characters will visit the garden to inspect how natural elements are arranged and admire the surrounding landscape. Game components are all listed right here, and the actual game board can be shown up here. Now, it's tough to see right now, but I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I was talking about in terms of his table presence. Here is a look at the game board a little bit closer. Of course, I don't have this set up on the table, but this picture does it a little bit of justice, but it can show you that most of the components of the game come up off the table and it's not just a flat presentation, so it's certainly going to be an eye catcher. This is the rulebook for Tang Garden. On the very front, you'll find the introduction, the overview, as well as all the components listed out to ensure you've got everything you need to get going. We're also going to talk about where the solo rules can be found inside this rulebook, as well as showing you how it looks inside. We won't go over every single page, but one thing to note that's definitely important here in the rulebook is the setup, so you can see a rough idea as how it looks when it's laid out on the table. Later on, we'll actually take a look at the main board itself. There's a total of 10 steps above to follow to get this game set up. Then it goes over the order of play, which is main action to build a garden or place a decoration. Then influence a character is optional, use a lantern is optional, or refresh a lantern is optional. And then it goes through all the major things you can do inside of each of those options for you. We'll continue on through. You'll see there's lots of colorful artwork, not only inside the game, but in the rulebook too. It's very, very beautiful, very nice to look at. I'll show you exactly where you can find the information related to solo play right here in the scoring section, along with the solo variant yin and yang. This is the information you're going to want to check out, and you can go ahead and pause the screen if you want to read this, but this covers how the solo variant is going to work at the top, and then it gives you in additional some steps that you're going to need to do in order to get this working, and there's 4 of them labeled out right here. In total, this rulebook, it really isn't that lengthy. This is on the 9th page, so there's only 1 page more or 2 to go after this. So you're looking at about 11 pages if you're not counting the very back page, which has the character descriptions all labeled out. Next up, we have a folded board, as you can see here. So we're going to go ahead and just take this folded board out. And underneath, we have spots for storage for pretty much everything, it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and unfold this board so you can see it fully. So as I mentioned before, the game board is very striking and very beautiful. Even when there's nothing on it, it's very captivating in terms of its styling and its artwork. But again, once those tiles start getting placed on it, it really starts to come to life. Here are all the player boards inside the game. Remember, if you're playing the solo variant, you're not using those player boards whatsoever. There'll be other components you're going to use when playing, but these are what you can expect to be playing if you're playing with other players. They got cutouts for all the cubes and markers. Now, one thing that I have to say that I'm quite impressed with right at the gate is the insert inside the box. It really does have everything tucked into its own area, so I really appreciate that for getting everything back in the box in an organized fashion and using the insert that already comes with the game. You can see here you got the cards. Down below here, we've got another tray with some cards below. We'll take a look through all these packs in a second. We also have some of the components that are, of course, going to be pushing things a little bit more vertical on us. And here we go with some of those as well. So we'll be opening these up soon. Under the miniatures, which of course we will check out later on, there's a perfect slot for them to sit in. We've got some discs that are colored. We'll talk about those too. More components for visual effect, and then of course the cubes. And the cubes are really important, of course, when you're talking about the player boards, but I don't know in what capacity for the solo play they'll be used, but it's worth mentioning them at this point because we just talked about the player boards. So there are 12 character miniatures inside the box. I'll just slowly move past all 12 of them so you can see them. This particular miniature appears to be flipped around backwards. Probably wondering where these discs actually go. They actually go on the bottom of the miniatures themselves. That's right. These are going to clip on to the 12 character miniatures we just looked at. Inside the box, there are a bunch of pieces and components that are meant for decorations inside the game. I got a bunch of them off to the left-hand side of the screen. I'm showing you one of each of them up close so you can see the detail on them. And you'll see that things are going to slot in them quite easily. For this particular one, actually, it'll be using some of the punch boards that are underneath the insert that we'll take a look at later on in order to actually assemble them. Here's a look at some of the cards that you can find inside of the game. I'll flip them over so you can see them. We got the architect. These are all the different individuals that I talked about at the end of the rule book, represented in card form. The artwork is beautiful on all of them. These cards are called decoration cards. Let's go through them right now. We've got and they're very colorful too. We've got fish, for instance, a number of those. You've got icons along the bottom too, and icons on the top right. Birds. Very colorful, very beautiful. Flowers like a lotus. Pine. Peach. Those are really colorful, very nice. Willow. The pavilions are the ones that we were talking about just a second ago, those pieces off the side. Decorations, for instance. Bridges you can build. Underneath the insert, as it stated, all the punch boards are there, and there's a whole bunch of them, as you can see right here, and they're going to all be used to help build out those 3D looking decorations that are going to go all over the garden. So that's pretty cool. So we'll go ahead. These are really thick too, by the way. Like, I don't know if you can see the thickness of that sheet. It's really thick. Like, that's going to be very sturdy, and those pieces are not going to be breaking anytime soon. Even these tokens here are quite thick. So very impressed by the thickness of that cardboard. That's crazy quality. Typically they're much, much thinner than that. For the money, that's going to feel even better as well, because typically cardboard money doesn't feel all that great, but these are thick. So you got the middles you can punch out as well as the circle itself. Very, very nice. We'll flip them over so you can see the opposite side. Now we get into the more colorful tiles for the garden itself. So you can see kind of the life that you can bring to the garden as you're building it up, the different options that you have, the looks of the back of the tiles as well. Very, very nice. The vibrancy of the colors is something I'm really appreciating. They did a good job with that. Definitely nailed it. I mean, if you're going to have a game that has to do with gardens, if you're going to want to attract people to that theme, this kind of has the same kind of feeling as a Wingspan, where not everyone's going to be attracted to that theme per se, but if you could make the presentation really pop, and it seems like that's exactly what they're going for with this, it can certainly drive people into a game that they wouldn't otherwise consider. And this is another example of another seriously thick piece of cardboard with some very beautiful, very enriched, colorful artwork. Very, very nice. It's very impressive. Looks awesome. Well done. And that's going to conclude the unboxing for Tang Garden. My initial impressions is I'm very impressed with the production quality of this retail game that went straight to retail. It's a very nice production. I really hope the solo mode for this one lives up to the level of care and attention that went into just the production behind this alone. So interested to dive into this one further. Really hope this video helps you make an informed decision on whether or not this is of interest to you. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.